Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. I'm happy to be in Tokyo and to be able to join this seminar and co-present a seminar on the end of lexicography. Welcome to the machine. Subtitles on how ChatGPT can already take over all of the dictionary maker's tasks. Now, as a little prologue to the actual talk, I will say something briefly on the title, tell you in a nutshell what this will be about, and also a little warning. So my initial title was actually much shorter, briefer, to the point: Exit Lexicographer, Enter Machine. Now, as you've noticed, it has become the end of lexicography as a whole, because as we developed what we wanted to say, David and I, we realized it's not just the human that will disappear, it's the whole field. Because in a nutshell, we claim that machines can now take over the whole process. And as a result, crooks can start selling products that no human ever saw. Or, if we are smarter, we can make better dictionaries faster. Now, we have to point out that this works, and whatever we will show today works very well with English and a few other major languages. It works less so for languages of limited diffusion. We know because we've tested it, as most people watching from abroad know, my field is the Bantu languages. So we tried playing with Zulu and we noticed that it threw in some Xhosa. Then we tried playing with Afrikaans. We saw some Dutch words coming in. In the past week, I've heard that even for Japanese, it is not yet on the level for English. However, it's just a matter of time before other languages will also have to succumb to the machine. 5 years, 10 years from now. Okay, something on ChatGPT now. It's a language model developed by OpenAI that uses deep learning to generate human-like responses to natural language queries. Specifically, ChatGPT is based on and that's the abbreviation, generative pre-trained transformer architecture, which is a type of neural network that can learn patterns in large data sets and generate new text based on that learning. So ChatGPT has been trained on massive amounts of text, more specifically the Common Crawl dataset, which includes over 1 trillion words. That is 1,000 billions from a variety of sources on the internet. The training process involves exposing the model to vast amounts of text data and using it to predict the next word or the next sequence of words in a text. The model is then fine-tuned on specific tasks, such as language translation, question answering, or chatbot-style dialogue, to improve its performance on those tasks. Overall, the size of the training data used to train ChatGPT is one of the factors that makes it so powerful and capable of generating high-quality responses to a wide variety of natural language queries. However, it's important to note that the model is not perfect and may occasionally make mistakes or provide incomplete and even entirely incorrect information. Okay, so far so good. We move from the prologue to the introduction. If today you ask people in the West and indeed in the Far East where they got their lexical meaning from, they will tell you, well, I just Googled it. And this is especially so for encyclopedic information. So you could say that a search engine is a dictionary. Now, if that is so, we can stop the talk and I'll go home, or proceed and see what the future will bring. Because a chat box with artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT, is most definitely a dictionary. So to briefly see the difference between, let's say, a search in Google and what ChatGPT does, let me look at one of the questions that the family that I wrote asked when we arrived. They wanted to know something about the place where we stay, which is close to a sky tree, the sky tree. So you type in Google, is the sky tree a real 3. Typical of Google, you got a number of options, links that you can that you can click and hence link to. Then you get the first link is very often a Wikipedia page, which explains what it is all about. Of course, it doesn't really answer the question that my children who are here in the room had. Is it a real tree? You have to figure it out. What does a chat box like GTP does? Is the sky tree a real tree? No, it says. The sky tree is not a real tree. It's a broadcasting tower located in Tokyo, Japan. It's the tallest one in the world, 634 meters. And while it is named sky tree because of its tree-like shape, it is actually a man-made structure made of steel and concrete. The name sky tree was chosen to represent the idea of a tree of life that provides vital energy and resources to people, much like a real tree does. You can see the difference. It's encyclopedic. It's not a lexical analysis, but the big difference between communicating with a chat box and using a search engine. Now, let's move to languages from this. I asked, because you can continue the chat, how would you translate this term into French? Oh, sky tree is an English name, but you wanted it in French. Arbre du ciel. However, it says, it's worth noting that the official name in Japanese is, and then you get the kanji and the katakana, which is pronounced Tokyo Sukaitsuri. That means Tokyo sky tree. With a bit more info. I'm not happy. Then you can press the button, regenerate the response. You get another version, another reply to the same question. Well, it's an English term, so in French it would typically be translated as sky tree. Huh? What? Sky tree? Sky tree? However, the French language does not it has a word for tree as well, which is arbre. So depending on the context, you may just refer to it as a tree, arbre. I'm not happy at all. I regenerate. You ask again. The chatbot gives up. I'm sorry, I would really need more context to be able to provide an accurate translation. What term? What is it that you're actually looking for? Okay, so, but I refuse to give it more info. If you do that, of course, you get better replies. So I'm now really insistent. How good is this machine? You try again. It tries again. 4th time. Sky tree can be translated into French as arbre du ciel. We had that. Or arbre céleste, celestial tree. Now that is the one I really like. It's beautiful. It's meaningful. However, still, since it's a proper noun, it's often left untranslated in French. So you can also refer to it as sky tree. So you see, you communicate, you look for the right answer until you're happy. A revolution compared to search engines. Now we take the step to lexicography. What is lexicography today? A few main blocks. First, corpus aspects. You build a database, you build a corpus, or if you have money, you license one. Me, for the Bantu languages, always have to build my own corpus. You analyze the data in it, you synthesize the findings. Then you move to actual dictionary writing. That's the dictionary compilation phase. Select a dictionary writing system, set up a DTD, that's the grammar of your dictionary. You fill in the database, that is known traditionally as compiling a dictionary. Then you write fancy code for things like, oh, mark all the headwords that are frequent in red, for example, and things like this. Okay, finish the dictionary, you publish. You output paper, digital, hybrid, or most dictionaries are used like this today. Of course, it is fed to a machine for NLP purposes. You've done all the work, you want to make money, sales and support, so you market, you sell your product, you localize it, and you engage with your customers. And then finally, what we're doing today, the meta lexicographic level, you evaluate the existing tools, dictionaries, corpora, you summarize what they do, you hypothesize about the future. Now, no doubt there are more levels and sub-levels, but we claim that ChatGPT and the rivals that have been announced for the coming weeks and months, like Alphabet's Google, BART, can handle most or almost all of this already. Or they make us believe that they can do it with results that will fool and still be useful to most people. And because that's useful and because they fool us, it is important to take notice of this revolution, and that's the point. Now, of these 5 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, most of the talk will be on that block number 2, the dictionary compilation itself. At the very end, I'll come back to 1, 3, 4, 5 as well. So block 2, we compile a dictionary. Let's see if we ask the chat box for a simple thing. Just give me a dictionary definition. What would it look like? So I type in, imagine you're a lexicographer, write a dictionary entry for the word cat. Chuk, 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 chuk. Right in front of you, it is writing cat with pronunciation, noun block, verb block, 3 senses, 3 more senses, and explains that a cat is a mammal, and of course a cat can also be a bigger another animal like a lion or a tiger, can refer to a woman. As a verbal use, it has these meaning potentials. And it continues because it's longer than that. It gives you idioms like let the cat out of the bag, rain, cats and dogs. Then it tells you something about etymology, origin there. It gives you synonyms, antonyms, and even related words. So we're there. All work for a lexicographer has been done for you. Of course, we don't know where they got their info from. Did they steal an existing dictionary? No, you won't find this anywhere. They assembled from that 1,000 billion of words all the material to do that fully automatically. Now, what if we start tweaking reality a little bit? Can you create an entry for bohobe, which is porridge in South Africa, but make it humorous, make us laugh. So there it is. It starts with the real meaning. It's staple food in South Africa, made from maize and so on. And as you go down these meaning potentials, you see that it has created funnier and funnier meanings for that word. It's a source of substance of joy. It's a magical substance that, combined with a gallop of bravery, can cure all ailments. So once you reach that, you know it's not true anymore. Okay. What if you now invent a concept with some supporting info? Here it is. We've created an imagined Python adorabilis with adorable characteristics. Tell me about it. So there's first a warning, first paragraph. Well, be warned, this doesn't exist. But then it goes into describing that Python. It gives you an explanation on how long it is, what color it has, what its characteristics and features are, and why it is adorable. It is cute because, well, you can cuddle it, and it makes the sound of like a baby bird. So it's cute, you see? And the last paragraph even refers to the fact that its habitat needs to be protected, and so on and so on. It's all invented, clearly, because the thing doesn't exist, but it looks convincing. What does it do with something that doesn't exist at all? Here is something totally invented. Explain internet transfer-based epigenetic inheritance. Clearly, that doesn't exist. Well, it gives you a beautiful explanation in 2 paragraphs, but it's invented facts. In terms of the field, hallucinations. Can it give you lists of meaning if you're a lexicographer and as a start pack? Here is an example. Give me all the meaning potentials of the word table, and there it is as a piece of furniture. Table in mathematics, table like ordering a table in a restaurant, and so on. Seemingly, of the 9 senses it has given, 8 are nouns and 1 is a verb. But I didn't ask the machine to make a difference. Then in the next question, you could say, please only focus on nouns, only focus on verbs, and so forth and so forth. What about having ChatGPT chat with itself? You see, I'm leading you, of course, towards the solution of what we want to do in the future. Well, here's an example. I'm learning Dutch. Please help me learn Dutch and present me a discussion between a man and a lexicographer, sorry, a man who is a lexicographer and the chat box, in which the man needs help using ChatGPT to treat an entry in a dictionary for the word computer. Now, you sit back, you just look, the man starts talking, hello, I'm a lexicographer. The chat box says, hello, I'm here to help. Man, I need a definition for. Chat says, of course you need. So it continues. And in the end, this is not the dialogue that we started with. This is now looking at the chat box chatting with itself, pretending that there is a lexicographer chatting with the chat box. Okay? You just sit back and you watch the machine doing it all for you. Okay, if you can do that, what about putting in some recursive elements? So we won't push it too far, but can you give me an example of a conversation between a man and the chat box that recursively involves 4 levels deep of requests between that man and the chat box? So, and then you get the conversation. It starts with the man. Can you give me a sample conversation? The chat box says, of course, here it is. The man says, can you give me another one? And that involves 3 levels. The chat box says, sure. Then can you involve one with 3, 2, 1, to in the end up with at the man who finally gets to, can you tell me about OpenAI? That was the real question. Then finally, it just shows you what the machine is able to do and what people will soon not be able to do anymore. Recursively, meta stacking is endless. OpenAI is a research organization that focuses on creating and promoting artificial intelligence in a responsible and safe way, claims this chat box. It was founded in 2015 by Elon Musk, also from South Africa, and originally at least, and several other individuals. It's dedicated and so on to the field of AI in a way that benefits humanity as a whole. You may wonder what that OpenAI actually is all about. OpenAI, that is behind the chat box. So just a few days ago, Elon Musk tweeted out that it was indeed created as an open source, which is why he named it OpenAI, non-profit company to serve as a counterweight to Google, but it has become a closed source, maximum profit company effectively controlled by Microsoft. And it is not what he intended at all. So you can see he's not very happy. But right now, anyone can use it. All you have to do is to create an OpenAI account, generate a key, and off you go. Okay, if all this is possible, what if you now take it to the next level and have the ChatGPT chat with a programmer? Can you give me an example of a programmer? So a dialogue between a programmer and yourself, in which the programmer asks for help on how to write a recursive function for Perlin landscape generation. And initially it gets very bad help from the chat box, but later solves his problem as the help from the chat box gets better and better. So you get this whole discussion, and of course, as requested, it is bad, and then it becomes better. And further down, it gives you the code and explains what is happening in the code. At the end, the programmer, which of course is a chat box itself, is thanking the chat box. It's a very polite chat box. It's appropriate here in Japan, always polite. Okay, this is just text. What if we now want to move this from plain running words to XML? Could it provide entries, dictionary entries in XML? Well, question, can you do some humorous English dictionary entry for the word plate, with Dutch added, structured in XML? Well, sure, there's a sample XML that Chat provided for us. Rather good, but not perfect yet to import if we would want to import it immediately because something is missing. So we continue in the same dialogue. Thanks, it's great, but can you do exactly like that, but also add a top level element, dictionary around the entry element? Of course, here you go. That's a chat box, huh? Each time you see the greens, and it added and dictionary and end of dictionary at the top. Well, the step from this to your dictionary writing system is very small because it's exactly what you need. By the way, it was a humorous dictionary. So look, for example, at the example. Why did the plate run away from the table? It was feeling dish-oriented. You see the humor instead of disoriented. So it is hard to imagine that this is still a machine making up jokes. There's a pattern. I'll come back to this type of joke. So that's great. Can you now keep it like that, but also add another entry? Because you can't have a dictionary with just one entry. In addition to plate, give me one for lexicographer. Sure. So it starts with what we already knew, and it adds one for lexicographer. Okay, back to the slide we started with. Remember, bogobe was the porridge in South Africa. We just chatted. Now, can we take back that chat and transfer that to XML as well? No problem. There it is, the beginning of it. What about now moving from this directly into a dictionary writing system? Straight into TLex XML importer. So on the left, you see the output from the chat box, and then on the right, you see a smaller screen window with the dictionary writing system, TLex. And indeed, it has imported bogobe in a new document. You see also the tree view here, and then the output from the ChatGPT is now here, and what you see is what you get. As you can see, normally lexicographers will be typing in here in all these little boxes, but you start the list of the entries, a tree view, the actual data about your tree, the output. There it is, fully done in the end by a machine. Okay, we've done that for one. Can you do another similar one? Just pick a word. So it's not us anymore who are asking for prompting the machine with words. No, go on, work on your own. It randomly chose toaster. It wrote an entry for toaster. Thanks, that's great. But you forgot to add the Dutch. Remember, we need the Dutch as well. Okay, sorry. Up, there it is. It adds the field for Dutch. And then again, up. We've done a few more. So in the meantime, you've got plate, you've got lexicographer, you've got toaster, and we skipped robot, but you keep going. The machine can keep generating itself. Okay, let's make it even more smart. What about XML templates? So that they're really following the DTD structure. So you define that at the top. What is at the bottom is the chat box, and you continue. Can you then think of another random word within the same template? Because that's the core. Yes, it wants to add stethoscope. It adds stethoscope, again with humorous examples. And again, and again, and again, and again, of course. And it has chosen banana, an entry for banana. Look at the joke again. Why did the banana go to the doctor? Well, it wasn't feeling too well. So you can already see how the machine is thinking to make up jokes. Of course, it has a massive database of similar sounding words. So that other South African, Trevor Noah, be careful. This machine is taking over your jokes. And it's been imported again, imported into TLex, just like this. Of course, because we are doing the same over and over, and the machine is generating similar material, you can also ask to break up monotony. You're not supposed to be able to read this, but these are all entries, Northern Sotho words, bogobe, ditaba, and so on and so on. And you can see they have not only the same structure, but Sense 5 is always the same type of joke. So you can point this out. Did you notice that you did this? Oh, I apologize. I apologize. I did this. I will do better next time. And he will start mixing them up. Okay. So even if you have a fixed template, you can still break that. You train, in a way, the system within the same conversation. Can I do more than just XML? Yes, here is an example. We just sit back and have the machine talk to the machine, a fake David Joffe in the system. So it gets a bit mind-bending of what we do now. But so you see the chatting with itself. In the end, it starts with giving you some XML. Then the machine asks itself, please give it the same thing in JSON format, and it gives the same in JSON format. Okay. Now, what about the same thing on a meta level? You know, those stackings of higher levels. I'm a C++ programmer named David Joffe. We'll hear him in a few minutes. Can you please give me a sample conversation in structured XML between David Joffe and the chat, in which he asked the chat for a sample humorous meta conversation between another David Joffe and another chat in structured XML. But later, the other David Joffe changes his mind and asks for the same conversation again in the JSON format. Now, I won't walk you through this, but the machine, of course, is able to do that recursively. And in the end, gives you the format in XML and also in later the JSON format, where you see the red and the green. What else can it do? We ask the machine to chat with itself to discover what it can do. Instead of trying it out ourselves, it can do JSON, XML. We already knew that. YAML, and of course, CSV files, they're all there. It can even do TEI, Text Encoding Initiative, XML, for those who like that. There it is with all the info. If we move from lexicography to specialized lexicography, terminology, TMX format, yes, so in translation memory with all the little details. So the creator is then the ChatGPT with a date stamp and so on, with all the info included. Can it do TBX format? That's also for terminology. So term-based exchange format. Yes, there it is. Can it do XLIF format? Yes, there it is. Bringing all this together before we go very soon to a demo of everything we talked about. Armed with all this knowledge of what ChatGPT can already do, and with a feeling of which prompts return relatively good results. This is an experiment. Not everything gives you nice results for lexicography. Artificial intelligence functionality was added to our dictionary writing system, TLex. Twane is a local word, Sotho word for Pretoria. So it's actually Pretoria Lex, but internationally known as TLex. We did that. Under the settings, tools, options, there is now an OpenAI section where users may enter their OpenAI secret key for any of the OpenAI functionalities to work. So you use your own key in the end. 2, a number of built-in default prompts are provided, like create an entry, list the senses, write a definition, give me examples, check my grammar, check my spelling, and so forth. These are generic and general. Next level, we have added custom prompts. So you can add and basically ask from within our software your own questions. Only once, and then you keep clicking, or we'll see later in batch mode. So you can add languages. If you're working on English, Japanese, you can add to return English, Japanese entries. If you're working on a children's dictionary, for example, then you will, we took as an example humor, but for children, make sure that your examples are geared towards children. 4, batch processing. So feed it a list of headwords at night, wake up in the morning, find your finished dictionary. That's the setup part. During actual dictionary use, OpenAI commands have been added under every text command with, and they are right-clickable as new menu items. These are things we will leave for the discussion in 30 minutes from now, but you can already wonder, okay, if we use this technology, who will be the author of your dictionary? Will it be Bob, the lexicographer, or the chat box, or both? Or should we show the full history? We started with chat and then Bob edited that. Should it perhaps be even a privilege under the user management system of our software? Because editors might block lexicographers from using it, or only give certain lexicographers permission to use it. So we could do a demo now, but before we run to the demo, I want to show you the other levels with just 1 or 2 slides for each. We move from dictionary compilation to the corpus aspects. What could it do at this point in corpus building and corpus analysis? Well, ChatGPT can indeed auto-generate a number of articles, short stories, texts for language as a sort of mini starter corpus, which is especially interesting for specialized fields, certain domains. Collect text on fisheries in Finland, and it goes about it. Has this been implemented in TL Corpus, which is linked to TLex TL Corpus? Yes, it has custom prompts already with built-ins like write a story about, and TL Corpus will, in the end, start writing such a text, but of course it is the ChatGPT that is writing it for you. Whenever you right-click on any concordance lines in TL Corpus, you can float over any word, you can get a ChatGPT explanation. I said only 1 slide per topic. Publishing, what could you do in the publishing world? Well, of course, we all need a preface to the dictionary. You've seen the preface, it was attached to the abstract. It can write text, and it makes perfect sense. Can it convert? Because we're outputting to any number of formats. You've seen my list of formats. I don't need to say more about that. Block number 4, sales and support. Well, you need to sell the product. So we just imagined something. Write a project proposal to compile a new type of dictionary combining English, Lusoga, which is the language of my family here, and Swahili, the big language of Eastern Africa. So we asked to write it in Flemish. We confused the machine. It doesn't know Flemish. Of course, we should have said Dutch, which is the same thing. But it started writing in English with an introduction, a project name, and a method to follow with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, all fully automated. And if you read through it, it makes there. So for those language teachers who worry, you have reason to worry. The ChatGPT does it for you. What about marketing? Well, you ask the machine, market my products. Write a poem about TLex, TL term, TL corpus, TL database. And there is your poem. TLex, the lexicography software grant, a tool for words, both broad and bland. It gathers data, categorizes with care to create dictionaries that all can share. Just makes perfect sense. It seems to know what our software is all about. It has organized it in stanzas. Each stanza is a quatrain, 4 tools, 4 blocks of info, wraps it up at the end. Let's take the one on TL Corpus. TL Corpus, the concordance software bright, analyzes language, bringing insight. It finds patterns and reveals trends, making language study an easy feat to comprehend. It seems to understand what corpus query software does. Together, the last one, these tools make language their art, providing knowledge and helping us all impart. So here's to TLex, TL term, TL corpus, and TL database, the backbone of language research, forever amazing. You could give this task to a student. I doubt they could come up with this. This took seconds. What about support? We know about chat boxes already. I'm sure we had the machine talk to itself. Someone can't install the software, how to go about it. It gives you the support. Block 5, meta lexicography. ChatGPT can write on a meta level. I've shown you a few meta discussions, well enough to fool most of our colleagues already. And actually, I may already have fooled you because the opening slides of today's talk were all written, not by us, but by ChatGPT itself. So, ChatGPT summarizes text, it has opinions, it checks your grammar and spelling, does keyword extraction for a long list. Go to that URL. It is amazing what it does. We feel the future is already here. Before I give over to my colleague, David Joffe, who will do a demo, in conclusion, before the demo, that will help for the question and answer session. What we would like to say is, rather than moan about the dangers of artificial intelligence, yes, they are real. Machines will soon govern us if we're not careful. Jump on the wagon now. Use the technology to free up time for us humans to do more useful things. Because if we as lexicographers, I focused on lexicography, if we don't do it, future lexicographers will be forced to stop claiming that anything they did involved something digital. They will have to stop claiming that their dictionaries are actually based on real language, which COBOL started doing in 1987. You see, they said, my dictionary is based on real language. We built the corpus. We had corpus query software. We had something like a sketch engine producing word sketches for us. If you don't want to join the future, in future, you will have to say, I'm sorry, I did it the old-fashioned way. I actually used clay tablets to write my dictionary. You see, no computers, no machine. This is a human. But are we humans that different from those machines? Perhaps we do exactly the same as those machines. We process big data. That's for question time. So let the machine do the bulk of the work with human intervention only at the vetting stage. Augment the production rate, augment the quality with artificial intelligence. Now we'll move to a demo. We'll have to fiddle around with the settings a bit so that we can ask David Joffe to come in. David, can you share your screen?
Yes. 1 second. Can you see the screen? Can you hear me? All right. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay. Just first, some apologies. My sound quality might not be very good. So I hope you can follow me as I'm speaking. I'm going to give a live demo of the new functionality in TLex, in which TLex and TL corpus integrate now directly with the OpenAI GPT. And so firstly, to start with, Maurice has been just as a sort of leading up to that, the normal way in which most of us interact, or most of you would be interacting with GPT or ChatGPT is via this web-based chat box, and we can interact with it live in a website at chat.openai.com. Ask it questions, it responds, and we can have very interesting and useful note that this is not, I asked it for a funny dictionary entry.
Can you make the one that is in focus bigger?
Yes.
The ChatGPT. And point out that
Can you
this is
see?
live, huh? What you do, yes? No,
Yes,
bigger.
I just typed that live.
Yeah.
Right, so this is a normal live this is a live interactive session now with ChatGPT. And normally you would use, the normal mode of communicating with this AI with GPT is in a web browser. But the integration functionality takes this quite a step further using what's called the API. The API is just, that's a technical term which you don't have to really understand what it means, but it's basically a system in which an application like TLex can talk directly to the AI and ask it questions and get answers back within the application, so within TLex. And so the new TLex is now able to talk directly to this AI. And so while you're working on an entry, you can ask it questions about that entry, or if you're working on a definition or a translation, you can send it queries directly from within TLex. And even as I'll demonstrate now, it can even just outright create entries and author them directly into TLex and even automate this process. And so yeah, the way it does that, if you have been using ChatGPT via this website, chat.openai.com. If not, you can register, create an account. And then we go to platform.openai.com. And we get something called an API key, which is a secret key that you plug into the TLex settings or the TL corpus settings. And once you've plugged your key into the settings, it can then talk directly to OpenAI. And so just as a simple example, we can ask it to, so these all over TLex are, the functionality is integrated in many different parts of TLex. So if we're, as a simple example, can right click on a head word, or right click, say, on oh, that's a very simple example. Let's ask it for something. So if I'm right clicking here on the head word, the entry dog, and we have our menu for AI commands, and we can, there are a whole lot of built-in commands already available. And as Maurice pointed out, you can also, these commands correspond to various prompts that are sent to the AI to directly receive a response within TLex. And as Maurice pointed out, we can also add our own custom ones. So a very simple one, if you don't know the meaning of something or you're not sure about something, you can ask it to explain something. So this takes a few seconds while it generates a response. Just see where I am. Explain dog. Oh, this is not going. Sorry about that. Let's retry it. In fact, let's try something else. Let's see if we can ask it to, I don't know, the server may be busy right now. We can try again now. Occasionally the server is quite overloaded. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to proceed now. Yeah, I'm using the Microsoft Word integration, and I'm going to ask just create a humorous English Dutch entry. All right, it has done so. All right, it worked this time. Just so what I did there, I did all that very quickly. I'm sitting in Microsoft Word, and I have here just a Microsoft Word document open, and I'm using the Microsoft Word integration, the TLex Microsoft Word integration, which shows this pop-up while we're working in Word. I selected the Word presentation, and we have this pop-up here that sort of shows us the word that we have selected or highlighted in Word. So any word I stand on and highlight here in Word, this Microsoft Word integration pop-up will sort of follow and display, oh, you've selected the term TLex Lexicography Software or the Word presentation. And I clicked on the Word presentation to access the integrated AI functionality, asked it to generate an entry, which it did send now. Back in, there's quite a lot going on behind the scenes. It then sent that command to the server, and it wrote this entry. This is the response that we received a few minutes ago from the server. This entry in XML format, presentation, the act of presenting something, and then humorous example. Yeah. All right, that's it's picked. And then this entry has been immediately created in TLex. Right, we can do that. Pick something else here. I don't know what. Sorry. Summertime. So I'll just go through the steps again. I typed the word in, selected the word in Word. I'm going to ask it again. GPT, and this is one of the custom queries that I've configured. Create a humorous English Dutch entry. It asks it to return it in XML so that TLex can automatically pull it in. Let's see what it responds with. Note that sometimes the quality of the results can be mixed. It's not always good, but the nice thing about it is that you can easily generate. So if you get one that you don't like, you just easily generate another one. Or if there's something in the output that, oh, there we have it. So this was now created there in front of us. It returned this entry here in XML, and it pulled it into TLex directly. So these two entries have just been written in front of us by the AI directly, basically. So yes, this is, there's a lot of things we can say about this, and there's a lot of things to discuss surrounding this. One of the questions now, if I'm a lexicographer and I'm logged in as David and editing the dictionary, and I'm pulling in content like this from the AI, who is the, I'm going to save it, and I'm going to put myself, perhaps give myself credit because I'm logged in. In this case, I'm logged in as ChatGPT to this dictionary in TLex. But if I wanted to take credit, who is the author? The author is going to be a combination of, is it a human who's reviewing this and deciding whether it goes into the dictionary or not? And, I don't know if in fact, if the human should be considered the author or the ChatGPT, or it should be a mix perhaps, or maybe it depends on per project basis. It could be an editorial decision on a per project basis. You know, it could try track, this part was created by GPT and this part was modified by David. So if I see something in it that I don't like, I can maybe modify it and then, or add more information to it to improve it. And perhaps, you know, it could be like a dual authorship thing, I don't know. And yeah, there's a lot of, so summertime, the most wonderful time of year for weekend barbecues, beach days, and sunburns. All right, so something to point out. All right, sometimes his jokes are not very good. Sometimes they are better than others. Yes, there are there's many different types of information it can give us. You know, creating new entries is just one of them. You know, it can do text extraction, it can check the grammar. So if you've got a human written definition, you can ask it to check the grammar. You know, check your spelling and grammar for mistakes in your human written definition. You can ask it to generate usage examples or lists of homonyms. But a very big caveat is that it's, you know, because it's been mostly trained on English, it can generate content in other languages, but the content it generates is a lot less accurate once you move, you know, outside of the most commonly spoken. And you know, if one is generating serious dictionary entries, you know, one would need to check. For example, it generated that entry. You know, Maurice showed an example of an entry with some etymology, and I'd be inclined to want to double check that that is correct. You know, that the etymology information is correct. So I think one still needs human checkers to check everything. Yeah, I'd like to show also the batch mode briefly, where we can actually give it a list of words. And I don't know. And so in the batch mode, we can actually feed it a list of entries, which could be even hundreds of entries, and ask it to create again these humorous entries. So basically, I've typed in 5 words there. List is one of them, words. So it's not responding, it's just waiting for a response. So one important thing, there is a delay between each entry it creates. There's a programmed in delay to avoid over spamming their servers. By default, it waits 5 seconds at least between each query. Otherwise, you may violate the terms of service and get your. But yeah, one point I want to make in this, you know, we have a number of many built-in commands already in TLex. You know, these built-in commands like for checking grammar or for generating a list of senses or meanings of a word, like the slide that Maurice showed, you know, that functionality is available in TLex. That slide Maurice showed, where you can ask it in the chat for a list of senses or meanings of the word table. That functionality is also in TLex itself. So you right click on any word and you can ask for a list of senses for that word. You know, all this is already built in to TLex, but the custom prompts. So this is busy in front of me here. The custom prompts allow you to really fine tune it better for your own project. So, you have a specific dictionary project with certain structures, maybe or specific languages that you're working with. Maybe you're working with French and Dutch. The custom prompts allow you to create your own prompts where you can use the actual chat window to try out prompts, like write me an entry, in English, French, and Dutch translations, listing all the synonyms of the head word and with this information, and with some usage examples. You can use this chat to refine your prompt, and then add that as a custom prompt to TLex for your, in the custom prompts settings. And then you can get a lot more out of it than the built-in prompts, because it can give you, very specific results that are sort of fine-tuned or tailored for your project. Let me just unsort. Yeah, I want to wait. Unsort. Clear sort by. All right, so it's just created these entries while I was speaking. So we started here with, I was just sitting in Word. I typed these words in Word, and using the integration here, I say, hey, please create me 5 new entries for these words. And then while I was speaking, or while you're having coffee, the thing can just do some lexicography work for you, and it returns structured entries, and which directly, which TLex can directly work with and create. And an important note is that this particular structure that it's creating here, that's customizable as well. So you can customize it completely for your own project. This particular structure comes from the slides that Maurice presented. This originally started as a chat session about asking for the word plate. And now it's, I automatically add entries. It's now several hundred entries. I added 200 entries in batch mode at once a few days ago. And then this has been published online at, this address, dictionaryq.com, GPT dictionary, where we can actually go. In fact, I could do a publish update now. But yeah, so the 312 entries that it authored, we've published online, including its preface, its humorous. I asked it to write a preface to the dictionary, and yeah, we've put the preface to the dictionary online, where it greets the users of the dictionary, gives some information, and humorously, a humorous preface to this dictionary. Now there's a lot one could debate around this. If one were to sit and create very many entries without modifying them, tens of thousands of entries. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's terms of service implications for the service. But yeah, let's have a look at these entries it's created. Batch, a collection of items. I gave it the credit here for its entries. This indicates it is the author. A collection of items, especially a large amount produced at one time. A batch of cookies where each one comes alive and starts singing when you eat them. Sometimes it's funnier than others. Sometimes its jokes are not so great. Yeah, shall we see where we are for time? Are we close to Q&A, or should I demo some more?
David, how hard is it to immediately publish these, the wheat and the batch and the other new ones that you did immediately to the online, so that can people?
Let's give it a try. Yeah. Backup. Let's make a backup before we do anything, and then
so people also get to see how smooth all these things are in TLex.
All right, this has not been planned to do this, but let's.
I'm pushing you, you know.
But we're going to give it a try. We can, in theory, I'll just check the settings are entered correctly, but yeah, there's no reason why not. Let's just resort that, and this one is not supposed to be there. All right, so we're going to try publish this now using the online, using the integrated online publishing. That's only a warning, that's not serious. Okay. It looks all right, it's working. So it's busy publishing now. Now if we refresh this list, we should have some new, what did we add, list and batch? There it is, batch. And so the entries that the GPT have created while we were speaking and added to the dictionary, I've now published those live during I've done a live publish straight to the website. Because TLex can do that, we can live publish from TLex to the online dictionary, and those new entries are now available in the online dictionary. If you go visit them now, we can have a look.
All right, David, if I may, yeah, I'm also looking at the time. I'm sure we've only had, we have already a few questions in the Q&A, but things will develop and we can demo more as we go. But I would like to thank David for developing. We always have crazy ideas and we dig in and we just do it. And as you know, this ChatGPT, the stable version, is only 2 weeks old. But here we have our first application for one specific field, which is lexicography, and the field of making dictionaries. And we are convinced that this is simply the future with things, ethical issues to discuss. But dictionaries will be made in a different way, and lexicographers, if they will still be lexicographers going forward, will have to work in a different way. So thanks, David.
What I'm hoping, yes. One comment, yeah, one last comment. Then, you know, one thought I had is might, you know, in the old days, they used to produce these beautiful, large, multi-volume dictionaries. And if machines can enhance a lexicographer's output, is there any reason why we can't see? And we're printing online instead of printing these physical books. Anyway, we're printing online because it's too expensive to print these books anymore. Could we use this to see a return, I hope, to making larger, very large, you know, really large dictionaries for humans who are the ultimate end users? But yes, I'm hoping, you know, just an optimistic thought to end it off with before we start the questions. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Maurice, continue.
No, I would like to wrap up and then we open the field. We have a moderator just to make sure that we do things correctly. I have already a number of Q&As waiting for us, of course, as we will talk, and in the audience, people may also have questions. But thanks to all so far for attending. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gilles-Maurice and David. We have witnessed how the dictionaries automatically generated through the ChatGPT, and also even the automatically even with the humorous examples as well, and how they how the technology, how the ChatGPT can generate the digital files of different types, and also how such lexicography data files can be integrated in the system of TLex. Right. So so far we have 4. How many questions? We have got the questions from the audience. So we would like to start with the first question from Eli.
Can I choose?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Right. We will start with Milos' question. Yeah. So I will just read out. Hi, Gilles-Maurice, will there be a public discussion afterwards? I've got 1 or 2 things really worth mentioning. One of them being that you are not using the ChatGPT API, even though you apparently think you are. Best. Yes.
David, did you hear the question from our colleague Milos? Perhaps read it. So,
sorry, let me read quickly.
yes.
Yeah.
So I'm developing the sketch engine and everything that goes with it. So he says that actually we were not using the API as we claimed. So I will, of course, this is a technical issue, leave that to
We're very definitely using the API.
Perhaps Milos should either type or
I
be
don't-
right to see why he claims that. Milos?
No, we are using the API. I can very clearly show that. Yeah, I'm 100% sure we are using the API. But in the presentation, we've mixed elements, to show,
Okay,
because
his
users are
answer-
familiar.
His answer, David,
You know,
is ChatGPT does not have a public API at the moment, he says. Milos
There's
says,
very definite. Well, there's very definitely an API, but it's GPT. It's technically GPT, but it does have a public API. Of course, it does. I'm not sure.
Milos and David will discuss this among programmers.
I'm not sure what it means. If platform that I'm paying $20 a month also for but you can create a free account. You don't need to pay, and the free account works as well. I'm not. I've been using it for some time. The API to just go to platform.openai.com and log in with your ChatGPT account.
I'll leave the second one.
Okay.
Okay, like I said, this is now between programmers. It's a technical issue, which I don't think should derail the discussion now at the Q&A.
Right. Yep. So maybe, but we need to we have to look at time, and also we have lots of questions as well. So we need to go to the second one. The question from Tom Gary, and we will talk again. And you have shown very convincingly that LLMs like ChatGPT can do what previously could be done only by human lexicographers. But what about the users of dictionaries? Language learners, for example, can now use ChatGPT quite effectively to determine the meanings and usage of unfamiliar vocabulary. Will LLMs eliminate the need for...
Where is it?
Where is it?
Question disappeared.
It's disappeared. Right. So will LLMs eliminate the need for learners dictionaries?
That's an answer.
It's true, but you can see the answers. Yeah. Will LLMs eliminate the need for learners dictionaries altogether? If yes, are there other types of dictionaries, whether created by humans or machine, that will still be necessary?
That was a question from Tom Gallier from the University of Tokyo. So basically he asked, is there still a need for either printed or digital dictionaries? Dictionaries, as we know them, long lists, like we saw with the batch mode of things fed to a machine. If the machine is always there, why do you need it? A dictionary, as we traditionally conceived it. As you know, we work in Africa. David is based in Pretoria. I work on the Bantu languages. So for us, our natural environment is one where, yes, people in townships, Daisuke, my colleague, just came back yesterday from Zambia. So our natural environment is one where people will still need physical, whether printed or digital, but something tangible. So listing things. And of course, given it's Africa, they don't have access to, like here, to the internet for free and so on. That said, I think even in the West, there will still be a need for physical dictionaries. I think the way school systems work, you still want a list because as the late Mandela said, a language is only a language when it is finally on the shelf, when its lexicon has been described. And to do that, you cannot randomly keep asking questions on Skytrees and others. You really need something or the equivalent of an A to Z going through a language's lexicon. So I think there will still be physical dictionaries for a very long physical, whether paper or digital, but dictionaries from A to Z or organized in a different way, but lists of lexical or encyclopedic material.
Mm-hmm. Right, and maybe we can go to the next question. Let's get back to the first one by Eli Kaufman. One advantage that the human lexicographer has over the machine is that he or she has access to lesser known corpus sources, whereas every text generated by ChatGPT is based on the same corpus. How do you see this dynamic change in the future?
If I may, but perhaps David will want to add then. So right now, the 1,000 billions of words collection was ended at the end of 2021. And they've already realized, especially when trying to link it with search engines, that of course they need to be up to date. No one wants to search something of the past. If it's search and you want ads linked to your search, you cannot have data from the past. So what they're working on right now is making sure that it remains up to date. And so this is not us, the programmers behind these tools who are developing that. And more specifically, lesser known corpus sources. So yes, but it's the nature of things. When we started work 20 years ago, there was nothing save for the language of my wife, Lusoga. Today, there is material. So it's the nature of things that there's ever more, even for our minority languages. So like I said, even if it's not there today, it will soon be there. We will also come to the machine. David?
Yes, I would add that well, this is a bit technical, but it is possible to fine-tune these models. You know, it's not 100% just a black box that's been trained in a specific way. It's quite technical though. It's a non-trivial, more advanced process, but you can actually take the sort of core black box and you can fine tune the actual, you can add your own text to fine tune it. So if you have your own corpus in other languages, I imagine that you may be able to improve it somewhat with some fine tuning. But this is a bit new. It's a little bit of a new field and new, new areas of research. So it's not clear to me yet how. I don't know very many people will be able to do that effectively because it's quite an advanced sort of it's quite a technical process. But I think in the long run there may be open alternatives that are also easier to adapt to other languages, and over time hopefully there will be more content for training in other languages on the internet.
Okay, thank you very much, David. And next question is from Tanara Zingano-kun. I just heard from Gilles-Maurice that she's from Brazil. Thank you very much for your attendance from Brazil. And the question is that, hi, Gilles-Maurice, thanks for giving this talk on something that has been in my mind for a while. I guess we lexicographers are certainly thinking about the use of ChatGPT in our lexical projects. One big question that prevents me from actually considering such use right away regards copyright issues. How can we be sure that we are not using data from already existing dictionaries? please?
I think we can be sure that it's not just copy and paste. You can then take anything from ChatGPT and try to re-Google it with an exact phrase, and you won't find it. Except when you ask, give me the first page, say, of a certain book, it will give you the exact first page because you really requested it. But the way the models work, they just grab from all over the place. And you can really say, if you don't want to put Tanara, you can say it's ChatGPT as the author there. So, of course, it has implications, but we've tried to discuss this already a bit. Who is the real author? But I don't think these AI tools steal wholesale. They really go all over the place, the way their model works.
Okay, and also we get
David, you want to add something?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right, and also we got kind of similar question from Megan Hall, and how long will ChatGPT continue to be free? I don't expect you to be able to answer, but lack of certainty has profound implications for the use of commercial products. Your thoughts?
Yes, that is a very good question, and unfortunately, there's no way for us to answer. And we must keep in mind, this is a commercial product, and it's a proprietary. It's not open, in spite of the name OpenAI, as Elon Musk has pointed out. And it's very difficult to predict these things. I think what will happen in the long run is that we'll see more and more competitors appear, and that will make it difficult to just remove it. We'll instead see more and more, Google already have a very similar model, called Lambda that they're busy productizing at the moment. And there are a number of other companies and, in China, for example, that are apparently working on similar things. And we're going to be watching very closely to see, what they produce and how it performs. I will definitely be trying the Google one as soon as I can. And I think that, we'll see more and more of these things appear, which will prevent them from just being able to completely, completely either like disappear or, I think a kind of, because there's so much attention on this, and because it's, it's quite a sort of revolutionary and useful product, these language models, I think it's only going to kind of go forward. I don't think we're going to see them disappear. But yes, I think the users and customers of OpenAI should keep some pressure on the company to make sure that they they don't do things that are not in the best interests of in the fair interests of their users. But we can't predict, but that's my guess. That
Thank you very much. And the next one from Maria Cristina is does ChatGPT use English as a pivot to provide bilingual entries in other languages? Would it be able to provide, for example, a translation of an Italian word into an African language? Is it okay? Is it possible?
Sorry, what was the question?
The question is about.
It's supposed to answer. Supposed to answer it.
Right. Yeah.
So the question is, it seems, well, the assumption is that English is used as a pivot language, which I don't think it is. That's part one. Two, whether if you now want to make an Italian to an African language dictionary, if there is this pivot, does it use English? And is it possible to do? I think perhaps a demo can do it. Take Swahili. We have Swahili speakers here. Yeah. Italian to Swahili. Do you need English in between?
What are we going to actually try this one as a live demo? Or, the best thing for questions like that is to actually try it and see how it responds. You know, this is a very complex system. It's a neural network, artificial neural network, and millions of neurons. It's quite a complex internals. We can't always guess. You know, it's really interesting to just try things out and see how it handles this or that. I saw that query, but now I can't find it in the list in order to.
It moved to answered. Once it moved to answered. Sorry for that, David.
Is that the Italian? I don't know this word. Would it be able to provide a translation of an Italian word that does not exist into an African language? All right, let's try this. I don't know. Should I share my screen quickly and we just try it? This is now not using the API. This is not using the normal website. I'm going to rephrase this question. I asked it this question, by the way, if it uses English. And it gave me an interesting answer. You know, I asked it one day, can you Afrikaans praat? Can you speak Afrikaans? And it answered in Afrikaans. And then I asked it, if somebody asks you a question in Afrikaans, do you think in Afrikaans for the answer? Or do you first translate to English and then translate back? And it gave a very interesting answer. I don't know how accurate this is, but it said that if it's a simple question, it just thinks directly in Afrikaans. But that if it's a more complex question, then it translates it to English and then gets an answer and translates the answer back, which is an amazing response. I don't know if it is an accurate insight into its own algorithms, but it's a very interesting response. But I think over time we'll see, you know, more models that are specifically trained on more text for specific languages. Would you be able to provide a translation of an Italian word that does not exist in English? Italian word. I don't know this word.
The context. There it goes. It goes inventing. It invents its own context first, and then goes to Swahili. Kanawa was too fast. Kanawa Kushonwa. Now we know. Now we know what it means.
I cannot judge
Italian word, but
response.
Yeah.
But, you know, the information is not always correct, especially for smaller languages. And one must keep in mind the way these language models work. You know, they're not like fact engines. They can generate information that's not correct. And I think this will improve over time. You know, in the coming years, in the next 5 to 10 years, we will see big improvements in that area. You know, but yes, I unfortunately neither my I can't speak Italian, and my Swahili is also not good enough to judge this response. But it seems to have made an attempt, at least, to do so.
If I may, there are very many language questions now. So coming back to Megan Hall, who used to work for Oxford University Press, she says, I think you said in passing earlier that ChatGPT, as integrated with TLex, can handle different DTDs. Can you confirm? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Then someone else.
Yes.
So the answer is yes. Then someone else from South Africa, Jana Luther, who works for Faros, can it handle Afrikaans, Dutch, German? Schrijf hier die in Duits, and so on. The answer is yes. I'm doing a few easy ones. So we got the chat. From Shi Chen, hi, Gilles-Maurice, I got a quick question for you. ChatGPT sometimes can be misled by users and thus produce fake output for other users. If we access this API to compile a dictionary, how do we avoid such a situation? So how do we avoid erroneous, wrong content?
You can't have other users somehow malicious. If you're sitting working on a particular dictionary, you can't have other users bring incorrect information in a malicious way to the responses you get. But I'm sorry, I didn't fully follow the whole question. Where was that from? Is that under the answer?
6:59, 6:59 in the open. Well, 6:59 Tokyo. Sorry.
Oh, yes. It produced fake output. Look, it does sometimes generate incorrect information, and a human being has to check the answers. Is the question? I think the answer? Yes, a human being has to check.
Yeah.
One can't just blindly trust. Oh, a machine generated this. You know, there's perhaps certain contexts in which that kind of inaccuracy is okay. You know, like if somebody is merely traveling and they quickly need a translation of something, you know, just to talk to locals about something not important. But, you know, that's different to making a dictionary where we actually want the information to be accurate. And I think one still needs a human to check everything and make sure that the output is good. You know, the AI can help speed up that process. But yeah, one still needs humans in the loop to check everything. Especially with this generation of these AIs. You know, maybe in another 5 or 10 years, that won't be the case anymore, but currently, definitely.
Okay, thanks. And we will move on to the next one. Maybe
at 6:50 Tokyo time.
By Kembo. And the question is that I suspect that ChatGPT is not actually analyzing the meaning when it outputs word meanings for now. Perhaps the text is 8 contains the dictionary definition and the output may be just its projection. I already tried to have ChatGPT analyze Japanese neologisms that I presume it has not yet eaten without much success. The very phase of analysis of word meaning still appears to be left to the work of lexicography. Yeah, we know none of us want to see copycats made with dictionary laundering of AI. With that said, can we still see the ends of lexicography coming? Is a question.
Yes, so given the title of our talk, this is the end of lexicography. Yes, certainly as we know it. In any case, lexicography has always been known as copying in alphabetical order. We've always copied. Every dictionary takes the previous dictionary and improves, whether we admit it or not. Then we had this trick to use a corpus and then machines to analyze the corpus. The sketch engine is not very different. It's just a huge leap. It's exponential what we now suddenly do from the sketch engine to using, from word sketches, Adam Kilgariff's term, from word sketches, fully automated to using an AI tool. So is that the end of lexicography coming? No, if we are smart, we will reinvent ourselves and all work for Google and Amazon and all the other big data players. David?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't have anything. What is the question? Okay. Sorry.
Stop. Yeah. No problem. We go to another question. Very top one.
Right. The first one, does ChatGPT...
So it's from Lars Trapp Jensen, a former president of Euralex.
Oh, really? Oh, so does the ChatGPT respect licenses, or can you ask it to copy an existing dictionary in XML and export it to yourself?
That's a big question. I think we would need to try a full dictionary in one go. Does it respect licenses? No, there are many articles on the internet who says, be careful if you've ever published anything online, it's out in the open and it's owned by these black boxes now and they can use and reuse it. So, but this is very specifically asking, look at this data and reproduce it in another way. The chat box doesn't, right now it doesn't help you doing that. David?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's a tricky question. One might be able to, but one might get in some sort of trouble because, you know, the data you send to their servers, they keep on their servers. If you do anything that falls afoul of some sort of intellectual property rights law, yeah, they you know, they do keep copies of whatever data you upload to the servers, and if it's associated, if it's linkable back to your, you know, if it's traceable back to you, one might get in trouble. I don't think it will know whether a particular text is copyrighted or not, so it may just go ahead and let you do it. But yeah, just don't get caught. And if you get caught, you may be in trouble. I would not advise to.
I cannot read.
Yeah, just be very careful of intellectual property laws. Yeah, I would not advise violating. I mean, ultimately, the ChatGPT, I mean, it's a product that's basically, you know, controlled or run by this OpenAI company. And, you know, the information you send, the queries you send, the documents, if you upload documents, they keep all that, and they do, you know, they will try to trace it back to you. If you use it for anything that's not legal.
Okay, right. So this may be the last question, I think, and this is from, I cannot read the name, but I would argue it may work better for specialized terminology for dictionaries serving different purposes, such as learners ones. ChatGPT might be hugely challenged.
So the argument, David, I'll rephrase that using this functionality would work or works better for languages of specific languages for specific purposes, dictionaries with say a specific focus, rather than say try to make a learner's dictionary or even a general dictionary. What is our experience so far? I had another question that I can bring in that I also read. Someone said, well, your first slide where we just threw the word cat at the machine and we got a full entry. The comment is, well, your entry is not long enough. I don't want just 3 sentences. I want 11 sentences. And think of the word run in English where the OED has 300 listed meaning potentials. So yes, what are the limitations? And does it work better for a certain subfield versus general language or not?
Yeah, the general language versus subfield, I'm not sure I can answer that question. You know, that's a bit more, I haven't worked with it enough to, you know, this is all quite new. But, you know, and I'm also a programmer more than a linguist, so I'm judging the technical aspects. Not necessarily while I'm using it and developing it, I'm judging mainly the technical aspects, not so much the lexicographic aspects.
David, this then links to actually our main point.
The other question, though, I do want to answer the question on the current response length is limited to what's called tokens, 4,000 tokens, which more or less correspond to words. So there is a length limit. They are expanding that. So the older models had a 2,000 token length limit. The more recent one has a 4,000 token length limit, and it must fit its answer in that. So for really long entries, like run, you know, common words in English that have many senses, it's not going to be able to give you a very detailed full entry for all the senses, but you can ask it to drill down in detail and break it down into queries. So you can first ask for a list of senses, and then maybe if it gives you 10 senses, but you see there's 3 or 4 more, you add them. And then for each sense, you can say, you know, give me some definitions for this particular sense of the word, or give me some usage examples, sample usage examples for this particular sense of the word. So you can break it down into parts, and you know, just ask for specific information, like just the definitions now, or just for this a certain part of speech. You know, you can say, okay, give me, you know, some definitions or a definition and plus examples for this particular sense of the noun table. You know, that so there is some, lexicographer has to manage doing this. It's not like the machine will do that all automatically. Yeah. Okay. Is that hopefully answers that part of the question?
Right. Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you very much. And we get more interesting questions, but we need to cut time, and it's 7 p.m. in Japan. So we would like to finish the session. And so once again, we would like to thank Gilles-Maurice and David Joffe for wonderful presentations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for all the participants to join this meeting. And thank you for all. So this is the end of the 20th seminar